Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for another indie comic review, and in this indie comic review I will be covering Mind Management Bootleg by Matt Kindt and Rogue Sun by Parrot. I'll now get things prepared for the first one that will be covered as we look around the beginning, as I'll then move into the rating of the cover and then the art and then eventually the story. So the first one I'm beginning with is Mind Management Bootleg by Matt Kindt. And first things first, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that is happening inside with the story? Sure enough it does, to which I give a 7 out of 10. I'll now start to move into showing some of the art around the beginning, middle and end, as well as some of the things that are happening story-wise. So as things begin, our key characters end up going to an island of sorts, which is, well, overrun by, well, quite a lot of activity. Now, as we jump to the middle of the story, they encounter one of a supposed villain of sorts, and they realize as this villain has also lied, they also get uglier whilst they're at this place. So jumping towards the end, we get to see what happens towards the end of their mission and go through somewhat of a debriefing of sorts and continue on with their life. So for the internal art, I gave this a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move to the story. First things first, did we get any indication of time throughout the story? No, we didn't. Location, about the only location that we got in the story was an island. But no particular idea as to where that island was. The cast of characters consisting of Denny, Keto, and Eraser. So for the overall story rating in this, I gave it a 7 out of 10. I'll now get things prepared to reviewing Rogue Sun issue 7. So as we jump into Rogue Sun issue 7, first things first, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that is happening inside with the story? Sure enough it does, to which I give a 7.5 out of 10. This storytelling has been amazing. So I'll now move to showing some of the internal art, as well as some of the things that are happening story-wise around the beginning, middle and end. So as the story begins, we have Dylan, Brock and Ori having a small discussion as events have now finished up with those siblings, and we move into the next line of events. Now do pay attention to the numbering on the page, because things are actually changing a little bit more in this story and I actually enjoy it. So I'll now jump towards the middle to show some of the art that's happening there. So as we jump towards the middle, we've got Dylan as Rogue Sun taking on some opponents until eventually he drops into seeing Dottie. It's nice to see the character's name again, because it can be a bit forgetful, especially if the writer forgets to include it. And of course, a bit of a discussion there, because a lot of the things that she does, which you have learned in previous issues, is that she holds gems that are like prisons at her store. And then we get a bit of a nice little change here, to which we learn that, well, this is almost like a choose your adventures in storytelling. But you know what? This is still great, even if you just want to read through it straight as is, because it's nice to see all the elements and directions to which you, the reader, can actually choose to enjoy this story, and also where it leads to in the end. And last but not least, the art towards the end. And The writer here has done a real fantastic job in the story too. For the internal art, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move into the story rating. Now, first things first, do we get any references to any of the previous issues? No, we don't. Moving into the next area, time. Do we get any indication of time as to when some events are taking place throughout the day? Not at all. But what do we get? We do get the area of location and also cast of characters. And the location to which I'll start off with first is the Bow Estate, to which Dylan, Ori, and Brock live there. We also know that that's in New Orleans. Dylan ends up going to the Gulf of Mexico when he's in his Rogue Sun. Moving into the cast of characters, of course, consisting of Brock and Dylan. There's a bit of a little tournament happening there at the beginning between them both, and Brock accuses Dylan of cheating, which is really funny because sometimes, yeah, even little brothers do that. Then we've got Dylan, we had Ori, we had Lord Viathan, which I think is a very interesting way to do Leviathan. And this character was actually met in the Gulf of Mexico, somewhat on a pirate ship. We also had Ornate and Dossie. So for the overall story rating in this, I give a 7.5 out of 10. If this great storytelling keeps going, I can see some 8s come out of this. Well, until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.